Astrotometry log, it's June 15th, 2010. It's approximately 0701 UTC at the time of this recording. USGS has recorded a 5.7 magnitude earthquake that was originally 5.9 on the Richter scale. And it's a fairly shallow quake, only 4.3 miles deep. And it has not apparently caused much damage. There hasn't been much reported, but it did stop a ball game briefly between the Toronto Blue Jays and the San Diego Padres. And several people felt that. I actually felt a pressure change here in the Russian River Valley. I was having a conversation with my SO and my neighbor, and all three of us felt a pressure change before this event. And the area is experiencing additional activity, and the USGS has recorded many quakes, aftershocks from this event. And if you look at the solar wind speed and the density of the wind, this event happened right after a sudden drop. We were heading up. The density was coming up while the X-rays were going down, and then there's a sudden drop right here, and this is about where the quake happened. And the electromagnetic pole, the z-axis, dropped suddenly as well. So there was a drop in the technically a polarity shift in the magnetic pole at the time, and the polarity was headed back up in the positive direction before this event. And so there's a trend that we're seeing here that involves the electromagnetic activity. The X-rays, I'm expecting, will continue to fall, and I'm fielding a lot of questions right now from people who are curious whether this is over or whether this is something that's going to continue, especially since it came so close to the beginning of the watch period. And this is the disturbance that the northern event is thought to coincide with. And if we look at it as it progresses in time, this is going backwards right now. The first part of the disturbance we see happening back on the 10th, and then there's a lot of changes. There's a lot of movement here in this hole, and this is really not a good sign for the potential it has to create more quakes, to coincide with more quakes. You can see back at the beginning of this hole is much smaller. It's growing and it's changing, and it's the changes in the patterns that indicate additional movement. And so it could be that this is a foreshock for a larger event. Unfortunately, that is coming in the next few days. That's definitely a possibility. And since we haven't seen the corresponding southern hemisphere event yet, that gives a sort of indication where we are on the timeline for this. When this gets back to the beginning, you can see that this changes significantly in time with this, and this event changes first. And so since we haven't seen this yet, this southern event yet, these other changes may still be ahead. These other big changes in the continuity of the continuity of the time space. And so that is the analysis so far. Still looking for a potential mirrored event in the southern hemisphere, since this is sort of known to correlate now with Baja, that region. This could be either South America or the Pacific Islands. So one of those two areas probably, if there is a corresponding southern hemisphere event. There's not always. Sometimes there is and sometimes there isn't. And so that's the analysis as it stands. This is definitely the sort of activity that I was sort of expecting for this, and this this sort of thing is not, this sort of swarm, this size of a swarm, really isn't that common. It looks like it was broken up due to the amount of energy that was available, and that's a good thing. The amount of density in the solar wind was not, completely deteriorated, and so but I am expecting this to continue to fall as the active regions that we've seen start to dissipate. And so that's the analysis for now. Very possible that we'll see another event in this region. Not certain though. If I had to put a probability on it, I would say, if I had to bet, I would say there's a more than 50% chance that we'll see a comparable size quake before the end of the watch period. That's just based on this movement. That's based on the amount of movement and where it seems to be on the timeline. Thanks for watching.